What's up, everyone? Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all that good stuff. Hope you guys are all doing well. I do have to do a quick apology before I start this whole video because this might just ruin your Christmas vibe, your whole spirit, but I think you guys will be alright. Anyways, today we're going to be covering two of the most infamous events that took place near or on Christmas, basically on Christmas. But before we get into those, make sure you guys all like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Give me the 500 subscribers before Christmas, bro. Come on, that's all I want. But without wasting any more time, let's just jump right into it. Okay, so first up, we have the story of JonBenét Ramsey. Now, JonBenét Ramsey was born on August 6, 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia. She was the younger of two children from Patricia Patsy Ramsey and JonBenét Ramsey. She also had an older brother named Berg. Now, JonBenét's first name combines her father's first and middle names, and her mother's first name was actually used as her middle name. A little confusing, to be honest, but when you look at her full name, you'll understand it. In the early morning hours of December 26, 1996, John and Patsy Ramsey awoke to find their 6-year-old daughter, JonBenét Ramsey, missing from her bed at their home in Boulder, Colorado. Patsy and John had woken up early to prepare for a trip when Patsy actually discovered a ransom note on the stairs demanding $118,000 for their daughter's safe return. So the note starts, "Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We do respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we actually have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want to see her in 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 will be in $20 bills. Make sure you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier delivery/pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for a proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for any electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory." And it's signed off SBTC. Now, despite the note's warning not to involve police, Patsy immediately called them, as well as friends and family, in order to aid in the search for JonBenét Ramsey.
911 emergency.
Police.
What's going on?
515th Street.
What's going on there, ma'am?
We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please.
Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is
Yeah.
gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old.
How long ago was it?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's
Does
gone.
it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says SBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Patsy Ramsey, I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been
No,
gone?
I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Okay,
Is there somebody?
I am, honey.
Please.
Take a deep breath,
Please,
okay?
hurry.
Patsy.
Police ended up arriving to the house around 5:55 a.m. and found no signs of a forced entry. Before JonBenét's body was even found, there were already many investigative mistakes being made. Basically, only JonBenét's room was cornered off, so friends and family were allowed to just roam the rest of the house. They picked up things and potentially just destroyed evidence without even realizing how dumb they were being. The Boulder City Police Department also shared evidence that they found with the Ramseys and delayed conducting their informal interviews with the parents. Basically, we're just sharing all this information with parents, not even knowing that they could have been suspects. And at 1 p.m., the detectives instructed Mr. Ramsey and a family friend to go around the house to see if anything was amiss. The first place that they looked was the basement, where they ended up finding JonBenét's body. John Ramsey immediately picked up his daughter's body and brought her upstairs, which unfortunately destroyed potential evidence by disturbing the crime scene, because obviously when you find a dead body, you don't just pick it up, you're putting your DNA all over it, you're ruining it. During the autopsy, it was discovered that JonBenét Ramsey had died from asphyxiation due to strangulation, in addition to a skull fracture. Her mouth had actually been covered in duct tape, and her wrists and neck were wrapped with a white cord. Her torso had been covered in a white blanket as well. Now, there were no conclusive evidence of a sexual assault, as no semen was found on the body, although a sexual assault definitely had occurred, they said. The makeshift garret was made using a length of cord and part of a paintbrush from the basement. The coroner also found what he believed to be a pineapple in JonBenét's stomach, although her parents do not remember giving her any the night before she died. But there was a bowl of pineapple in the kitchen, which had her 9-year-old brother Burke's fingerprints all over it. However, this meant little since time cannot be attributed to fingerprints. Basically, they couldn't tell when he had touched these things at this point, so it didn't matter. There are, however, two popular theories in the Ramsey case, one being the family theory and the other being the intruder theory. Now, the initial investigation focused heavily on the Ramsey family for many different reasons. First, the police felt that the ransom note was somehow staged, as it was unusually long, written using a pen and paper that was actually from the Ramseys' own house, and demanded almost the exact amount of money that John had received as a bonus earlier that year. Additionally, the Ramseys were reluctant to cooperate with police at first, though they later said that this was because they feared that the police would not conduct a full investigation and target them as easy suspects. However, all three members of the immediate family were questioned by investigators and submitted handwriting samples to compare to the ransom letter. Both John and Burke were cleared of any suspicion of writing the note, although much was made that Patsy could not be conclusively cleared by her handwriting sample. This analysis was not further supported by any other evidence, and despite a larger pool of suspects, the media immediately focused on JonBenét's parents, and they spent years under the harsh limelight of the public eye, basically being scrutinized constantly for this. In 1999, a Colorado grand jury voted to indict the Ramseys on child endangerment and obstruction of a murder investigation. However, the prosecutor felt that this evidence did not meet the beyond a reasonable doubt standard and declined to prosecute them. JonBenét's parents were never officially named as suspects in the murder. Alternatively, the intruder theory has lots of physical evidence to support it. First, there was a boot print found next to JonBenét's body which did not belong to any member of the family. There was also a broken window in the basement, which was believed to be the most likely point of entry for an intruder to actually just get into the house. Additionally, there was DNA from drops of blood from an unknown male found on her underwear. The floors in the Ramseys' home were heavily carpeted at the time, making it plausible for an intruder to have carried JonBenét's downstairs without waking any family members up because basically the sound suppression from the rug. And one of the most famous suspects in this case was actually named John Carr. He was arrested in 2006 when he confessed to killing JonBenét by accident after he had drugged and sexually assaulted her. Carr was eventually dismissed as a suspect after it revealed that no drugs have ever been in JonBenét's system. The police could not confirm that he was actually even in Boulder at the time, and his DNA did not match the profile generated from the samples found. Basically, this guy was just kind of like lying. I don't know why you would ever want to just lie. And this is a super famous case. You have to understand that. This is like a really famous case because it's technically still unsolved to this day. So maybe that's why, but I don't know, bro. People be out of their minds. Now, much of the recent investigation in this case revolves around the DNA profiles developed from the sample found in her underwear and from the touch DNA later developed from her long johns. The profile from her underwear was entered into CODIS, which is the national DNA database, in 2003, but no matches have ever been identified. And in 2006, Boulder District Attorney Mary Lacey actually ended up taking over this case. She agreed with the federal prosecutor that the intruder theory was much more plausible than the Ramseys killing their own daughter. And under Lacey's lead, investigators developed the DNA profile from touch DNA, which was DNA left behind from skin cells that they actually found on her long johns at the time. In 2008, Lacey released a statement detailing the DNA evidence and fully exonerating the Ramsey family, saying in part, "The Boulder District Attorney's Office does not consider any member of the Ramsey family, including John, Patsy, or Burke Ramsey, as suspects in this case. We make this announcement now because we have recently obtained this new scientific evidence that adds significantly to the exculpatory value of the previous scientific evidence. We do so with full appreciation for the other evidence in this case." Alright, and in 2010, the case was officially reopened with renewed focus on the DNA samples. Further testing has been conducted on the samples, and experts now believe that the sample is actually from 2 different individuals rather than just one. In 2016, it was announced that the DNA would be sent to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation to be tested using more modern methods, and authorities hope to develop an even stronger DNA profile for the killer and hopefully eventually find this person. And in 2016, CBS aired the case of JonBenét Ramsey, which ended up implying that her 9-year-old brother, Burke, was actually the killer, despite the fact that he was already cleared with DNA evidence, and basically, they just forced it on him, you know what I mean? Defamation completely. Burke ended up filing a $750 million lawsuit against CBS for defamation. The case was settled in 2019, and while the terms of the settlement are not actually disclosed, his lawyer stated that the case was ambiguously resolved for the satisfaction of all parties. Basically, he got super duper paid for sure. And to this day, the JonBenét Ramsey case is actually still open and still under investigation. It was never solved, basically. So, RIP to JonBenét. That's a horrible Christmas day after Christmas. Damn. Now, if you thought that first one was pretty bad, this next one is horrible. This is the story of Ronald Gene Simmons, or the Christmas murder, I guess. On December 22nd, 1987, Ronald Gene Simmons began a killing spree that would be the worst mass murder in Arkansas history and the worst crime involving one family in the history of the country. Alright, this is some intense shit. His rampage ended on December 28th, 1987, leaving 14 members of his immediate family and 2 former co-workers dead. Now, evidence indicates that Simmons bludgeoned and shot his wife on December 22nd, 1987. Simmons also bludgeoned and shot his visiting son, 29-year-old Ronald Gene Simmons Jr. He then strangled his 3-year-old granddaughter. All 3 bodies were later found in a shallow pit Simmons had instructed the children to dig months before for a 3rd family outhouse. Bro, he had these people dig their own grave months before and told them it was going to be for an outhouse. Like, oh my god, that is messed up, dog. I can't even lie. Later the same day, the Dover school bus dropped off the younger Simmons children for their school break for Christmas. Now, based on crime scene investigation, it is believed that the Simmons children, ages 17, 14, 11, and 8, were separated and killed individually by either strangulation and or drowning in a rain barrel. Like, some super messed up ways. Their bodies too were found in the hole for the outhouse. Basically, he was just chucking all these people in this one outhouse hole that he had them dig. The older Simmons children had been invited to the Simmons home on December 26, 1987 for an after-Christmas dinner. 23-year-old William H. Simmons II, his 21-year-old wife Renata Mae Simmons, and their 20-month-old son Olive Fordyce were likely the first to arrive. William and Renata were shot, and their bodies were left on the dining room table, covered with their own coats and some bedding. Their child was killed and placed into a trunk of a car behind the Simmons home. Like, dude, this guy was just going off. Something must have snapped in this dude's brain, to be honest. The next to arrive were Simmons' 24-year-old daughter Sheila and her husband, 33-year-old Dennis Raymond McNulty, as well as their children, 7-year-old Sylvia, who was the daughter of Sheila and her father, and 21-year-old Michael. Now, Sheila was shot and her body was laid on the dining room table and covered with the tablecloth. Simmons shot Dennis and strangled Sylvia. Michael was strangled and placed into a trunk of yet another parked car. Basically, this guy was just doing the same exact thing over and over again. Like,
did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
Later that same day, Simmons drove to Russellville, where he stopped at a Sears store and picked up Christmas gifts that had been ordered but had not made it before the holiday. This dude's just picking up his gifts after doing all this. And later that night, he drove to a private club in Russellville. Then he went home and waited out the weekend. So he just chilled for the weekend after doing all this. On Monday, December 28th, 1987, Simmons drove a car that had belonged to his son Ronald Jr. back to Russellville. He purchased a second gun from where else? America's favorite store, baby, Walmart. His next stop was the Peel, Eddie and Gibbons law firm. After entering the building, Simmons shot and killed receptionist/secretary Kathy Cribbins Kendrick. He next went to the Taylor Oil Company, where he shot and wounded Russell Rusty Taylor, the owner of the Sinclair Mini Mart where he had worked, and then shot and killed JD or Jim Chaffin, a fireman and part-time truck driver for Taylor Oil. He was just shooting everybody at this point. Simmons shot at and missed another employee before exiting the building. Simmons then went to the Sinclair Mini Mart where he had shot and wounded Roberta Woolley and David Sollers. His last stop was the Woodline Motor Freight Company. Dude, this guy had a shopping list of places to stop at. Simmons located his former supervisor, Joyce Butts, and wounded her in the head and chest. He then took worker Vicky Jackson at gunpoint into the computer office and advised her to phone the police. Basically, he wanted her to call the police. Simmons allegedly told Jackson, "I've come to do what I've wanted to do. It's all over now. I've gotten everybody who wanted to hurt me." That was his exact quote. Alright? This guy was definitely going through some mental shit. He surrendered to Russellville police when they arrived. No fight. Simmons was then sent to an Arkansas State Hospital in Little Rock, Pulaski County to be exact, for a competency evaluation by staff psychiatrist Dr. Irving Kuhl. Kuhl found that Simmons was sane and capable of standing trial. Robert E. Doc Irwin and Harris were appointed by the court to represent Simmons. Basically, those were his lawyers. The prosecuting attorney was Jim Bynum. Jury selection for the first trial took less than 6 hours. Simmons was convicted on May 12, 1988 in the Franklin County Circuit Court for the deaths of Kendrick and Chaffin. On May 16th, Judge John Samuel Patterson sentenced Simmons to death by lethal injection plus 147 years. Simmons refused all rights to appeal. Basically, he just wanted this shit over with. Bynum offered a possible motive when he presented an undated note that was discovered in a safe deposit box at a Russellville bank after Simmons' arrest. The letter seemed to indicate a strong love-hate relationship between Simmons and his daughter Sheila. After the judge ruled the letter admissible, Simmons lashed out at Bynum, punching him in the face, and then unsuccessfully struggling for a deputy's handgun. I don't know what was going through this dude's head. Officers rushed him out of the courtroom in chains. Simmons was sentenced to death by lethal injection on March 16, 1989. On March 1st, 1989, Simmons was found competent to waive his rights to appeal his conviction. However, the filing of Whitmore v. Arkansas challenged this right. That was just a different court case going on at the same time. Reverend Louis Franz and Jonas Whitmore contended that Simmons using his right to refuse appeal in fact jeopardized the appellate rights of other death row inmates. By a 7-2 vote, the Supreme Court justices threw out this appeal. However, the ongoing legal proceedings had prevented the execution of Simmons from being carried out. Simmons was watching television and eating what he thought would be his last meal when the news of his stay of execution was announced. Basically, he thought he was about to die, and then he saw on TV that he basically got saved from this. And on May 31st, 1990, Governor Bill Clinton, that's funny as hell, signed Simmons' second execution warrant for June 25th, 1990. This was the quickest sentence to execution to death time in United States history since the death penalty was reinstated in 1976. They basically wanted this gone. Shout out to Bill Clinton. And basically, Simmons refused all visitors, including legal counsel and clergy. No family members ever claimed his body, so Simmons was buried in a pauper's plot at Lincoln Memorial Lawn in Varner. Who really cares, to be honest? Fuck that guy. He's kind of a big scumbag. And yeah, I mean, Merry Christmas. I hope you're not like him, to be honest. Like, what the hell? Like, why would any family ever go pick you up, bro? You're a scumbag, cuz you just wiped out the whole family, dog. Obviously, nobody's coming and picking you up, bro. What? I don't know. Crazy. Shout out to Bill Clinton for that easy dub. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Hopefully, this didn't ruin your whole spirit. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. And yeah, hopefully, I might have another video out before the end of the year. If not, Happy New Year's, Happy Holidays. All that good stuff. Stay safe, stay dangerous. And that's it, y'all. Catch y'all later. Deuces.